Okay. So yeah, these are the Faber Companions. They're a group of young laymen who live in Dublin together in an intentional community. And James is an active member of our parish, and he sings with our Vocare ensemble. And so I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves a bit. So yeah, welcome.
Thanks a million, Maddie. Yeah, hi to everyone. We're the Faber Companions. Sounds like a band introduction or something. It's so who we are. We're an initiative of the Irish Jesuits, brainchild, I guess, of Father Miles O'Reilly, who had an idea of creating a kind of a lay-led youth ministry, essentially, of the Irish Jesuits. And what that would involve is, at its core, a group of young people living together, engaging with and learning about Ignatian spirituality, to the extent that they can pass it on to others of their generation. So that was the start point. I myself kind of started 3 years ago. I was approached by a friend to have a meeting down on Leeson Street at the Jesuit community there, where this kind of idea was put forward. And I mean, frankly, knew very little about the Jesuits at the start. And it's just been a journey of discovery from then. I think probably what drew me most was their whole attitude towards contemplative prayer, towards it's essentially, for me, it was an answer to the massive influence of Eastern spiritualities and mindfulness practices that are coming in and are really popular with our generation. And I think, you know, the first time I was ever kind of guided through the examen, that was maybe one of the first points at which I thought, wow, this is actually something that I think really speaks to our generation, my own friends. This is the kind of language that that they understand. So yeah, I think that's enough from me. I'll let all the guys introduce themselves and who they are, and yeah, how they ended up on this couch.
Start with me. I'm Callum Douglas. Thank you. And I joined the Companions in the summer of 2020, but I am a good friend of the good friend who initially involved James. So I've been kind of aware of the project since its genesis, and I was actually kind of working on school retreats it was my first time working on school retreats that year, 3 years ago, with this man who we're not naming, apparently, Daniel. So Daniel was running retreats, and I invited me to kind of help out with that. So I was working with him a little bit that year. So as it got started, I was kind of very aware of it starting up. And then last year, I got invited by Miles to take on the kind of schools specific outreach part of the Companions. So there's one so far anyway, there's been one like member of the Faber Companions who is employed by the Jesuits to work as a kind of pastoral consultant, maybe is not the right word, but like extra body basically, who's available to the Jesuit schools in Dublin, so Belvedere, Gonzaga, and the primary school in Gardner Street. And one of the earliest Faber Companions, Sean O'Rourke, did that in the first year, and then he got into a master's to train as a teacher in England. So him and Miles invited me to take over that because I've been working on these retreats with Dan and Sean the previous year. And so yeah, so I did that job last year, and I guess similar to James, like I hadn't had very much exposure to Ignatian spirituality or the Jesuits prior to the starting of the Companions, and but it's been yeah, it's been a really beautiful series of kind of I guess because I had so many relationships with people who were getting involved with it, I was able to kind of learn about and access the stuff that they were learning about in a really relational kind of way. And yeah, and so then there was a big shift. Lots of guys left the end of last year, and so I was invited to come and actually live in the house with the guys in summer. And I'm still doing the pastoral consultant, which is a phrase that I've never used before now.
He wants to go next.
We position this perfectly. I'll speak like this. Yeah. No, I'll move over. How's it going, everyone? Love to see you tonight. My name is Joe Barco. I am 23, final year student in UCD. How I stumbled upon the companions, when I was in second year, I remember the person who we didn't mention, who was Daniel, his brother, oh hey Dan, his brother invited me to an event, to a mass that Faber Companions were involved in, and I went to that and I really enjoyed it. And I went to a number of events that they held. What really struck me was kind of this idea. I'd realized in myself that I wasn't finding any time to just be in the silence and in the quiet and the peace. And I was just constantly doing something, just constantly filling up time. And when I heard about Jesuits and contemplative prayer, I was really instantly attracted to that. I was thinking, wow, I need to put myself in this position of almost enforcedly in listening to God in the silence. Before that all happened, I went away to South America, but when I came back, I was kind of craving community. I was not too excited about the fact of moving back in with my parents. And I'd had the experience of living in community before. So I knew how incredible an opportunity it is. And I think I was just expressing that to a friend, and he said, well, like, why don't you talk to some of the guys in Faber Companions? Like, as Colin was saying, there was a few people moving out and there might be a space. So organized a meeting with these two lovely gentlemen beside me that Luke attended as well. And we just had a lovely just chat through about what the Faber Companions are, a bit more about contemplative prayer, about, all about the mission and what it would be like to live in the community. So I moved in last summer, and I'm very blessed to be here, to be surrounded by Catholic men strong into their faith, striving to grow in their faith and wanting each other to grow as well. So very blessed to be here, and that's how I got here. So
hi guys, my name is Jason, and so how I got involved, I suppose similar to Callum, I would have known Daniel and James for years. So I was actually living in America at the time when the Faber Companions kind of came into being, but I would have been kind of in contact with Dan over Skype and stuff throughout the year, and I heard about this thing starting up, and I didn't really know anything about the Jesuits, and I didn't have a clue what it was, but I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I came back then from the States and moved back in with my parents, actually similar to what you said, Joe. Kind of just didn't really feel like I belonged there anymore. I was looking for a new place to like make my home, and was like dying for community in general. Never mind kind of an intentional community like this, which is kind of the best expression of that for me, I think. But I suppose the first year that it was up and running, I wasn't living in the house or anything, but I was attending a lot of the masses and the events that the guys were putting on, and I was finding a lot of life in it. I like I said, I didn't know anything about the Jesuits, but the more I learned about Ignatian spirituality, the more it like resonated with me, just the kind of lightly held contemplative nature of it, finding God in all things, and that really appealed to me where I was at in my spiritual journey at the time. And I just got drawn more and more in. And then actually all three of the guys, Dan, James and Sean, all separately told me I should try and join. So I was like, well, that's pretty comprehensive. I guess I will give Miles a call. So yeah, I joined about probably nearly 2 years ago now, actually, which is mad. I guess I was like part of the second wave, if you will. So yeah, I've been here nearly 2 years, and yeah, it's been really incredible to see how much I've benefited from it, and also how much it's like blossomed over a longer period of time as I look back, and how I'm still kind of learning new things about what it means to be in this community, and how I'm still finding new ways to grow from it. So yeah, I think that's me.
Hi everyone, my name's Luke. Yeah, I joined the community just at the end of the summer there in 2020. I was really, really hungry for community. I had been lone wolfing it for too long. I'd spent the guts of 3 years with a great organization called NET. Some of you might know it, and had really vibrant community there, and came home to Ireland. And yeah, it was just a bit of a desert for me. So this has been like a saving drink, you know, being here with the lads and other guys that believe and have faith. It's just been, yeah, deeply meaningful for me. I'm training at the moment to be a counselor, therapist, and all the lads are doing other stuff. We've young professionals and students. So yeah, it's just, I find it to be a great mix of experience, and we have a lot of crack as well along the way. So yeah, that's me.
I'll mention we're missing one tonight. There is one other. Rory joined us in September as well. Rory's a master's student in Trinity College. He's studying Irish literature, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Irish literature. So Rory actually got in touch with us via the Jesuits in Paris, who put him in touch, I think, with the Jesuits in London, who put him in touch with the Jesuits here. And he's ended up here when he was doing his master's. So that's the six of us as
He's
way
a
of
surf instructor.
He's a surf instructor. That's all you need to know about Rory. So that's us as an intro.
Yeah, great. Thank you guys. Yeah, I mean, if you guys are ready to move on to the Q&A portion, or do you guys have anything else you'd like to say about community life?
Well, actually, I was just thinking as we were doing the intro there, it might be worth explaining what it is we actually do, what a typical week looks like for us. Just give people some sort of reference. I suppose, you know, like I said, the idea is that we ourselves are, you know, engaging with Ignatian spirituality, but also there's the ministry, the outreach aspect to what we do as well. So there's kind of an internal and external rhythm to what we do. As a house, we pray together every day, Monday through Friday. So we have morning or evening prayer depending on the day, and we generally take it in turns. Somebody takes a week and is prayer secretary for the week, and they facilitate that. And then I suppose you know, we then have certain things that will be offered by Father Miles, who's constantly giving us fabulous articles and podcasts to interact with. And then on the more outreach side of things, during the week, we offer Examine and Lectio Divina by Zoom to the wider community. And then on a Saturday morning, we run a book club. We're making our way through a book by Brian McLaren, who is he's on staff at the Center of Action and Contemplation with Father Richard Rohr. So he's written this book on making the road by walking, which we're going through with our community. And then on a Sunday, we host a collaborative liturgy of the word with our community. So that involves, I guess, several readings of the gospel that day, and then asking the wider community to bring a response to that, be it as some sort of written reflection, a poem, an image, a piece of music, and then we also make time for intentional prayer. So that's our kind of typical week in a lot of ways, with all sorts of other bits and pieces thrown in between. Like I said, we're all either in work or students, so it's no week ever really looks the same.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks so much. Yeah, if you're ready, we can move into the Q&A portion. And so if anyone wants to ask a question, just unmute yourself and ask your question, and then just mute yourself again.
Hi guys. I lived in community at one time, a lay community. It was men and women, and I'd just be interested to know, with a lot of people living in the same space, there are disagreements or difficulties, or how do you resolve just the day-to-day differences between people and problems that arise and that kind of thing?
One of the things we do is we play a lot of ping pong. we have a table tennis table, which actually, funny enough, was bequeathed to us by Daniel's family as well. We have it sounds like a joke, but actually, genuinely, there is something really helpful about kind of playing a ping pong game with somebody and just spending time in the space with them in that kind of focused way that I don't know, it just like, it helps you kind of calm down if you're like annoyed at that person for not tidying up their washing or something behind, it's a kind of I don't know, it's like a neutralizing kind of space, which is really helpful, which obviously is not the full story, but yeah, it's the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, that's a good question, Matthias. We don't actually have like a formal conflict resolution structure or anything to the community life. I think my experience anyway is, there's a good amount of emotional honesty between us. I think that goes a long way. Sorry, I'm not sure you could hear there. But that's it. That's all I had to share.
I think I could say one thing as well. We're moving this all over the place. One thing I'll say that as well. On every Tuesday night, we have a meal together, and kind of the priest director of the house, Father Miles, he comes over, and we kind of have a check-in on how we're doing, and it kind of it frees the space to hear kind of where everyone's at, and it kind of, I don't know, sometimes maybe if I'm kind of slightly annoyed with someone or something, I'm kind of hearing where they're at during the week, and I'm like, oh my goodness, why did I think so terribly about that person at the moment? I think there are other opportunities to grow in your relationship that I have been called out once or twice, and we've kind of just had an open conversation. And I think what's beautiful is that everyone's really open to that in the house. There's no like beating around the bush. It's like when you have that conversation, the person immediately, or myself, is like really open to hearing it and wanting to grow in that way. So there is that space and environment and openness to, if there is conflict, to talk about it openly, either one-on-one or in a group. So yeah.
Thanks for the question, Matthias.
Hi guys, good to meet you. Just a question, is there a time frame for living in the community? Like, is it a year or two? Could it be longer or shorter?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, so there's kind of two time frames. In the short term, we're all kind of here on a year by year basis. So anyone who's here commits, any of us who've moved in here have met with Miles beforehand and made some form of commitment that we would be here and be integrated and involved and committed to the project for the next year. So we kind of, a year, I suppose, on the Faber calendar is similar to like a school or college year. So we kind of kick things off every September, and then every kind of May or June, we'll wind down and then take a bit of a 2-month kind of break, sabbatical fallow period during the summer. So we commit for a September to May stint at a time. And then long term, 3 years at the moment is kind of the maximum that anyone can stay. So yeah, it's not meant to be kind of a house where you stay for like 15 years. It's like the goal of the project is that it is aimed towards young people who are in their 20s or kind of finishing college or finished college and trying to discern God's will for the next phase of their life. So it's more of a 3-year cycle, really, if you stay for the full time, by the end of which hopefully you're ready to move on to whatever you feel called to next. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Does Mairead have a question? I think you need to unmute. Yeah.
Yes. Lovely meeting you, lads. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All good.
I'm very interested in your project. I know one of you, and I used to know Sean, and my contact is that you have given retreats to our students, and they were very, very successful. And I am passionately interested in young people, and I think this is a wonderful project. And I like the idea that it's on a year-to-year base and that it's just a 3-year thing. It doesn't tie you in forever with anything. It's a novel idea. It reminds me a little bit, I would be au fait with Jesuit spirituality. It reminds me a little bit of the early companions of Ignatius. No, you're not trying to, you know the story yourself, how he happened in Paris. And it evolved. They just didn't say down this is the way it's going to be. They allowed it to evolve, and there was a lot of discernment around it. I think it's a wonderful project, and I am thrilled to know. Now, this is one of my hobby horses, and people are fed up hearing me saying it. There's so much good going on around, particularly among young people. We never hear about it, or we rarely hear about it. All the bad things that we all do are in you. I won't go on that hobby horse. But if I hear anybody doing anything good, that's my policy in life. Look, for goodness sake, affirm them and tell them they're good and give them a hug, because we can't hug now, but when we will be able to hug again. So all the best, and I think you're brilliant. Now, a few practical things. Do you live in one? No, you needn't answer if you want to. Do you live in one house together? Yeah.
Yes.
You all live together. Right, I won't ask you where it is, that's your own business. And I went, no, I mean, I'm not a nosy person, but I am very interested in this project. Now, I know that you don't want to have a whole lot of rules, but I presume there's some kind of a procedure of, I know you're all going out, some of your are students and some of you are working. I presume you come and go, your timetable varies a lot, doesn't it? And is it once a week you have a meal together? Mass and a meal together, yes. And it's a good idea, I think. I'm very interested to see that all we spoke about prayer, very much so, and about the importance of prayer and the discernment. And it's great to know that, because sometimes got the impression that anybody who prays, they're really for the birds altogether. I mean, it's lovely to see intelligent, young, good-looking people like you who want to pray. Do you know what I'm saying?
We
Do you?
Thanks a million,
Thanks,
Mairead.
Mairead.
Mairead, can we just say that whenever this is over, you're invited over for dinner?
Yeah.
I'd like to come. I would, yes.
Absolutely.
We'd love
Please
to
do.
have you.
Yeah, we'd love to have
you.
Yeah, actually, what's his name? Sean. Sean conducted retreats in our school, and he was very, very popular altogether. Did you get engaged?
No.
No?
He's in a relationship.
He's
No, I may say well, my memories always are. No, sorry. No, I don't. No, I'm not a nosy person at all. Sorry. Leave that out. No, we had great regards for Sean, and then he went off to England. He was studying there, and he was still director of the retreats and everything. I used to negotiate with him for things, but I had enormous regard for and as I say, I've been organising retreats for decades, but and people laugh at me in school, and I'm dead in earnest. I said it's very important that we get somebody who's young, intelligent, and good looking. And people laugh at me. I said, yes, I think it's very important for our teenagers to know. I'm quite serious about this. It's very important for our teenagers to know that people who are young and good looking and intelligent, that they actually have time for God and that they pray. And that's the message I would hope that you people being involved in a prayer ministry and in retreats, I think it's enormously important. No, I'm an old woman, and I'm in education for decades, and I mean, I love the youngsters and the rest, but I mean, we're decades apart, but that doesn't matter. I mean, they're my adopted grandchildren. But I think it's important that we have the likes of you around, because you're on their wavelength. I can organize retreats, I can affirm people, I can tell them they're good, and I can do all sorts of things. But I'm decades apart, but you have an enormous potential. And even if, well, at the end of the 3 years, you go about your business, whatever did you going to do, but this will stand to you. It's the foundational thing.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very interested. And my message to you tonight is to affirm you, and I give all of you a hug, and I tap you on the back and keep it up. Because really, you are countercultural. You know what that means. It used to be a very popular thing. I don't hear it going on so much now. Because a lot of people, again, another thing, I can never say everyone. Some, I mean, it is the most important word in any language. Some young people are excellent, some young people not so. But I think it's very important to do that. I won't give you any more. You didn't come here to get a lecture from me, you didn't. But I just wanted to see it because I'm interested. Yeah. Is that all right?
Thanks so much,
Lovely to hear from you.
Thank you very much.
Now, when we're back in school again, hopefully, we have retreats maybe next year. And Callum.
Yeah, dearly looking forward to coming back to the school next year, right?
Thank you so much for coming. It's a delight to have you.
Yeah, but keep it up anyhow, and that's it. So look, I've enough said. Too much maybe.
Good Mila.
Well,
I have a question. So my question is, how has this community influenced your faith lives individually and together? Is there just one or two ways in particular that you think the Faber Companions have really helped you grow?
I'll kick this off. Yeah. I think the way you asked that question is actually that's exactly it. It's twofold. I think in my own faith life, my own kind of journey, I suppose, with Ignatian spirituality, and that kind of shift in mind that happens when you try and start seeing everything in life, all of creation, as an invitation from God to respond to. That's crazy. That's mind blowing as just a thing to try and implement in your life. How does it influence me, like as a community? It's just it's that lovely thing of having this space where you can feel held and also pulled. Held in a sense of having that support network, having that kind of, I don't know, comforting shoulder, or wise words, but also having that space that kind of is slowly stretching you out of your comfort zone a little bit. Like we all come from different, backgrounds, different life experiences. So I think that's probably one of the bigger things that can happen in community. Well, it certainly happened for me, is that people's experiences and their own spiritual journeys, how that kind of impacts and kind of expands and broadens your own understanding of how God works. I don't know, does anybody else want to kind of hop in here?
Yeah, great answer.
Yeah, I thought you said it very well. To be fair.
Yeah. I think as well, there's something implicit about just putting yourself in an environment like this for an extended period of time. For me, I've certainly noticed, like, there's a lot of ways that I've grown as a person and in my faith, just in very kind of like immediate, obvious ways from being around these guys. But almost the more powerful thing for me is to look back over the last 2 years and see the ways that my understanding of God has developed, just in subtle ways, from being constantly in an environment where I am kind of thinking and praying contemplatively and self-reflectively every single day. I think it's something that, like, almost probably for the first full year that I was here, I didn't see it. And in the past 6 or 7 months, I've really started to notice the kind of power behind just being in such a intentional space, living in such an intentionally spiritual and community oriented space. I was gonna say it wears you down, but the opposite of that, it like it just I don't know how to describe it really, but there's something very transformative about being in that atmosphere and it, like, internalizing that kind of contemplative spiritual posture for a year, 2 years, 3 years. The more time that goes by, I think the more obvious it is to me how it's slowly, like, turning the cogs of my faith and my understanding of God. And yeah, it's hard to put into words, but it's I think there's something that's bigger than the sum of the parts. Like, there's something about being here that is more than any individual thing that any of us is trying to nurture in the house. And I've certainly found, that I've grown just implicitly in that way.
Thank you.
Just a question, I guess sort of a practical question in relation to the kind of 3-year cycle. Is there sort of, in terms of like keeping people in the house, is there sort of a project for how long it's going to run for, or is it kind of just you're going to keep going as long as people are open to it? And is there sort of a setup where there's like a house director, or like how does the process kind of continue?
Good question. It's for you, James.
Yeah.
James
They're-
fields all
they're-
official
yeah,
questions.
To you, James.
looking to me purely because I've been here the longest. That is an excellent question, and I suppose by a way of starting to answer it is that the ministry didn't exist 3-4 years ago, so a lot of this is I don't want to say trial and error, but trial and error. So I suppose what is it? I think the phrase you used there I think is quite good. Like as long as cornerstone of the whole idea of us being here, or of the innate spirituality anyway, is that sense of vocation and finding God's will for you. So I suppose as that as a touch point, that's possibly something that kind of nurtures that kind of decision making. But yeah, no, at the moment, like I said, it's year on year. In terms of a house director, it's like you've been eavesdropping in on our meetings. It's something that has come up, and at the moment we're just working on a far more kind of micro level of week on week, allowing somebody to kind of take charge of certain things. Sorry, I'm not sure if I've even answered the question, but hopefully I'm getting there in some way. Yeah.
I suppose it's Miles's project overall, so we aren't necessarily heavily involved in the long-term decision making or picture of it, I suppose, because Miles, or if he passes it on to another Jesuit, is kind of the continuity, I suppose, in the longer term. If we are only involved in a 3-year cycle. So yeah, I guess, I would imagine that there's a lot of hope for it to take, for it to function well and be attractive to people, and to have a lot of longevity. And we've actually had discussions recently about how, actually specifically relevant to Sister Mairead, we've been talking about that it's much nicer for schools to have longer term commitments than a year by year basis, and to know that the Faber Companions will exist to run their retreats and things in advance. And so we would definitely love to be able to make kind of more ongoing commitments, and but yeah, as James said, it's kind of still pretty early days yet to know if it'll still be around 20 years from now.
Cool, thank you.
Can I just ask another question? As Christians, we are called to be leaven in the society in which we live. Now, I just wonder, have you found that the solidarity of living in community is helping that process in your lives outside the house? So when you're not together, when you're in your work life or your student life, is that making a difference to what that was like before?
I can answer it. You're dying to.
Do you want to go first? I'll go second.
Yeah.
There you go.
I feel strongly about that. I think. Was it? This was Joe's question, so I'm stealing it. But no, I really feel it has made a big difference for me. I feel like, I just feel very built up, I guess, living with the guys, and I feel I have more to give. It's like getting fed, when I was living at home, and just like I was praying, but I mean, like, I feel there's a lot of give and take here in the house, and it pulls you out of yourself, we're built even outwards, our eyes looking out, we're built for others, and I think this type of project brings that out. And I've found my life to be much more joyful being here. So most definitely.
I'll only add a small bit onto that. I think also living in a house with 6 Catholic guys, it sparks some gas conversations. Like being in final year college and like, yeah, they're like, oh, like, are you where are you living? And like a couple of my good mates know that I was originally Rathfarnham with my family, and they're like, oh yeah, I moved out. I'm in Rathmines. Oh, did you move with some mates? Yeah, some good friends. And then it's that, do you say community, the favorite companions that sparks the whole conversation. But the times that I have, it's actually been really like fascinating of, first of all, the openness to hear about it. And then if some of the guys have met some of the guys of some of my friends, obviously these guys will make such an effort that they're like, oh, these guys are really nice. They're genuine people striving, like I said earlier, for the best in life, have a purpose. And that's attractive, you know? That's really attractive to people from all walks of life. So I've seen that from conversations with mates, and if some of my friends have met the guys here. And yeah, definitely, I think Jay said it earlier, kind of like seeing God in all things, a greater appreciation for seeing the Lord work in every aspect of my life anyway, kind of through conversations, through nature, through everything. So yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Thank you, guys. That's great. Thank you.
Do we have any more questions?
Hi guys. I have a question. The boys all know me very well. I'm involved in the outer community. My husband Dan here was involved in Faber for two and a half years. And I'm just wondering, you know, for some of you guys who are getting maybe towards the end of your tenure, what do you think will be your greatest takeaway going forward in life after Faber, and what you'd like to stay with you that you've learned in the community so far?
Moving on to James.
Yeah, I'm feeling very victimized. That's an excellent question. That really is stellar, and I really don't think I'm going to do it any justice. But oh God, I mean, yeah, I definitely think, you know, my time here will be absolutely foundational to the way my faith plays out for the rest of my life. If I'm trying to like pick out one thing, God, like it's yeah. Perhaps it's just it's hard not to make this too vague, but it's just the awareness of God, trying to just tune into his presence, his hand in touch with my entire life. Like, I think you can definitely, or I've certainly, you know, had that feeling of my Christian life and my life outside of that. And this project has certainly married those two. You know, my time here has just forced those two to collide and mingle in their entirety. So yeah, it's a wonderful question, and I'm sure there's a wonderful answer to it. But I think, you know, give me a few more months, and I'll come back to you with maybe something more succinct.
Yeah, that is that is an extremely good question, and similar to James, I definitely don't have a good enough answer. I think a large part of it is probably that, I mean, based on my experience so far and kind of what I said before, I feel like there's a lot that I don't know yet, and I imagine I'll look back in like 10 years, 30 years, whatever, and see ways that the time here stood to me that I can't see yet. I think there's something like very deep going on that I just don't have the perspective to appreciate yet. And I think it just feels like one of those things that I'll look back and see so much that I can't see now, and realize ways that the time here has prepared me or benefited me or taught me that I just don't have any concept of yet. In terms of the things that I can see so far, I think like I suppose like I see my time here as a time spent in a very like spiritually and emotionally kind of fertile place. So being in a safe, kind of sacred, spiritual, intentional space for a number of years has given me a chance to like settle a bit, and has allowed spiritual growth and emotional growth and processing of my ideas of God that had not been examined enough until now, or whatever emotional trauma that I had not dealt with. It's given me a safe space for all that stuff to kind of come to light and be navigated. And I think that is like, I think a lot of the stuff I've learned here, the ways I've changed since being here, are pretty foundational and will be the foundation for like wherever I go next. So yeah, I don't know. I suppose I kind of think of it as like another stage of maturing. There was like, you know, teenagehood, and then being in college, and immediately post college, and then this feels like the next stage that is the platform for everything else. So yeah, I don't know. I suppose in the short to medium term, my thinking about myself and my life and God will all spawn from the foundation I've built for myself here. And then in the long term, I guess I don't know yet, but I'm pretty hopeful that I'll still keep seeing benefits the more the time goes by.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
So, gentlemen, it's a pleasure to meet you. I only know one of you, and that's James. And actually, my question is for James, because you're the only guy I know. So my question is this. There are obviously a lot of different ways to form community. And you're not only part of the Faber community, James, but you're also part of the Newman University Church community and a musical community. How does that community, the Newman and the musical community, what does that bring to your Faber community?
An awful lot.
Yeah, Steve, you don't even know the half of it. You know, I think I'm not gonna, but I could go on, you know, a 40-minute, an hour lecture on the amazing work that's being done at the Newman Center, and the positive influence it's had on me, on my life, on my relationship with God. How that has directly impacted here, well, I suppose because of my interactions there, you know, the guys see me going out to Taizé, to Mass, to go and sing, and I probably bring some of that back with me, you know, emotionally and, well, physically. Like, you know, Steve, now I can admit to you, I steal your arrangements and get the guys here to sing them. We try and incorporate Taizé into that gospel liturgy that we put on a Sunday. So I suppose in my I'm not a choral director, but in my teaching the guys how to sing, how to throw harmonies on top. I suppose that experience for me isn't a case of performance anymore. It is a facilitation of prayer. It's a conversation with God, and I suppose what we're trying to do on a Sunday night, when it's getting to the time when the Zoom should be going live, and we still haven't got the piece right yet. But the feeling in me of, oh, come on, we need to get this right, isn't for my own personal satisfaction anymore. It's certainly not. It's for this urge of like just wanting to create and facilitate some aspect of beauty for anybody who joins, for anybody who hears, something that's going to put them in a place where they can hopefully encounter the Lord, have some space themselves, to just be and listen. And I think that's probably one of the that's definitely, I think, a very tangible takeaway that is coming from one to the other.
I haven't got a musical bone in my body, but James has me singing, so that must be something.
Right at the bass section.
Hi. Sorry, can I go?
Sorry. Should I go? Sorry. Hi guys, how are you? Good to see you. Just asking, do you think that knowing that your time on the house and on the Faber community it's limited to 3 years, do you kind of go into the community with more open-minded and having like enjoying everything and learning so much because you have limited time there? I don't know if I make myself clear, but
I definitely feel like that's one of the elements that helps me to be consistently aware of what an absolute privilege it is to be here. 100%, like I guess, it's a little bit like going to college or something. You kind of know there's, even from the very start, there's an end in sight, and so it's a kind of precious period of time. So 100%, I think it does really help to push us to get the most out of it, and to kind of bring as much to it as we can as well, I guess, in the little window that we have of being here. Thank you, Claudia.
thank you.
You have a question, Naomi? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry guys. I was just going to ask, what's been your experience of the pandemic and lockdown for the past 12 months as a community?
I guess there's two halves to that, because a lot of us only arrived in summer, so Jason can talk about the first half anyway.
I know, look, because I know, I appreciate, I don't want to take up people's time too much, but maybe, I don't know, somebody can jump in when we get to September. But when all this happened in March, like everybody else, we didn't know what to do. But thankfully, I suppose a lot of the things translated well online. So Zoom became our best friend. We bought the premium account, and we went from there. Now, I suppose March, April, May, and then we kind of had that fallow period that we kind of tend to have during the summertime. So I suppose, interior wise, that was amazing to have a community of people here to see out that first lockdown with. It was a lifesaver, so that's certainly one aspect of it that was huge. And then of course all the guys joined during level 3 in September, and we quickly then descended into madness. So I don't know if you guys want to talk about.
Yeah, I can share definitely. There is a huge benefit, obviously, living in community during this time when the time of such difficulty for so many people, for people who are struggling with loneliness, living by themselves. Yeah, can't even imagine what they're going through, and how lucky we have been placed in this position. A little thing that we've been given back because of this gift that we've been given is kind of all the events that the guys described on Zoom. And it's amazing the people that are connecting in are from a number of different countries all over the world. And just like, it's incredible to recognize that gift in that even though there's such time of challenge, such hardship, that there is this coming together in this time online. Like, there's some people from America coming in, from France, from Spain, so many countries that it's just, and all coming online, that if we were just in person, we wouldn't have that gift to do that. So it is recognizing this is an extremely difficult period, but there are these beautiful moments and beautiful opportunities as well.
Yeah, I don't know if I have really much to add to what the guys said. You know, the pandemic hasn't been easy, but as far as lockdown situations go, I feel like we pretty much have the best possible setup here. Yeah. I actually get I don't know, survivor's guilt sometimes or something. Like, so many of my friends are really struggling with just living alone in apartments and stuff, which is, you know, the majority of people worldwide probably are with their families or by themselves. Or we have, you know, living with 6 built-in mates and a back garden and even a ping pong table, which is ridiculous.
You had to mention it twice.
So yeah, I think just extraordinarily grateful for being so jammy to end up with yeah, the kind of best possible scenario to have to be in lockdown for. But yeah, as Joe said, it's also provided some really beautiful opportunities to kind of you know, hopefully create some online spaces that have been nourishing for people, and especially yeah, having people from other countries join our Zooms, which is something we'd never have had if we were just doing things in person pre-COVID, is a crazy kind of blessing that's really cool to see. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for being here. I want to be mindful of your time. So thank you so much for joining us for this hour and for creating your signature cocktail, which was great. And yeah, if you guys have any last words you want to say, yeah, just thank you. And yeah, next week we are taking a break from Theology Uncorked. We'll return on the 24th of March for Father Billy Swan, who will be presenting on theology and mental health. He published a little book called Faith and Mental Health recently, so he's going to be speaking on that topic. So that'll be the 24th of March at 7 p.m. And thank you everyone who joined us. And yeah, and then thank you guys, the Faber Companions. It's great to be able to meet the rest of you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, guys.
Such a pleasure.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Bye.
God bless you all.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye.